Welcome, everybody, back to the Financial Advisor Workshop, a 4-star podcast and video series. And we have a very special guest today who is one of the top advisors in the country. It's RJ Devick, and RJ is one of the partners, the key partners of Bond and Devick Wealth Partners in the famous Twin Cities.
Famous Twin Cities.
So which Twin City are you in?
Minneapolis.
You're in the Minneapolis side. Okay. All right. Home of RBC and the Minnesota Twins and all that.
Ameriprise.
Ameriprise is there too.
Yeah.
Boy, it's a real, that was American Express Advisors, now Ameriprise and all that. Well, great. Well, had a really interesting discussion prior to taping today with RJ. And want to first get a little bit of background, RJ, on you and then talk about some really unique things to how you guys have developed. So tell us a little bit about your background. If I remember right, you started out with Penny Bond in her firm. Most people don't start in the independent space. They spend 5 years at Merrill Lynch or something, right? So tell us
So Penny Bond was one of the first female financial advisors in the country. She started her firm, Penny Bond and Associates, in 1982.
Okay.
And she was a CPA. And she went through a divorce, and she went to a financial advisor, and all he wanted to do basically was sell her a mutual fund. And she thought there's got to be more to it than this. And she thought with her tax background that she could provide a lot of value to clients.
Mm-hmm.
So she put out her shingle in 1982, and she was very successful. And in 1993, she needed help. So she needed to hire someone. My first job out of college, I was working for a property casualty firm and just did not enjoy that space.
Okay.
Yeah. My boss at the time was a woman, and she was in a women's networking group with Penny. And Penny said that she was looking to hire somebody. And my boss said, we should talk to RJ because it's not working out here, property casualty. So,
okay.
I met with Penny at a Bennigan's in October of 1993, and I started November 1st, 1993. And I was a history major with no financial investment background whatsoever, but that's how desperate she was back in the day.
So why were you attracted to this business if you were a history major? What is there history to the markets or what?
I was attracted to a paycheck.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
I really, it was serendipity. I got lucky. I found an industry, an occupation, a job that I love. And the history really comes, it really helps me a lot, actually. But I wasn't an accounting major. I wasn't a finance major. So I think I learned a lot more after college than I did in college, especially with regard to this industry.
Well, in college, college is the framework, but then, you really learn in the arena, to quote the famous President Richard Nixon, who wrote a book about being in the arena.
I definitely got thrown in the arena without any protection.
Yeah. Well, great. So you get into the business and did your property casualty background help at all?
No.
Okay. Do you still do any insurance?
No, we're a fee-only RIA, so we outsource everything that has to do with life insurance, property cat. We have a lot of firms that we work with that we refer clients to, but we don't do any of that specifically.
Okay, interesting. Okay, well, good. So you joined Penny, and then eventually it becomes Bond and Devick. When did that happen?
We became Bond and Devick in January 1st of 2001. 2001.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's been a little while, and then. But you weren't your own RIA until you said 2016.
2016, right.
So let's talk about that evolution. How did that all develop?
We started in 2001. We did the asset under management, fee model through Cetera.
Right.
Our broker dealer at the time was ING at the time before Cetera.
Okay.
And over time, and by the time 2016 rolled around, 97% of our income was from fees.
Okay.
And there just became a time where we were regulated under FINRA, all the FINRA rules that really didn't apply to what we were doing. It didn't really apply to how we ran our business. So we decided to go fee only. RIA, and we custody under Charles Schwab.
Okay. Nice. Nice. So when you did have the hybrid, are there any other products that you did back then that you had to transition over as well?
We had a ton of old legacy annuities, variable annuities that Penny had done in the 80s and 90s that we still service, but we have to go through a broker to actually work with them. Some of those annuities have been transferred to fee-only annuities, so we can still service those. But generally speaking, it was that and 529 plans. In the 529 plans, we transitioned all to American funds using F2 shares, and we can service the clients, help them with distributions, allocate the funds, and we don't charge a fee on 529s.
Nice. Nice. Well, good. All right. So tell us about your typical client. What type of people do you work with?
So over the years, we started working with more and more professors from local universities.
Okay.
And I think you just kind of attract like people over time. So I'm a pretty left-leaning progressive kind of guy, and Penny is too, which is it's not that common in this industry, I would say. And so when we were working with those professors and administrators at local universities, they really wanted to align their values with their investments. And back in the 90s, when I started working with Penny, that was a lot more difficult to do than it is now. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of the genesis of our firm pivoting to values-based investing. We're comprehensive financial planners. We do retirement plans and planning and tax planning, estate planning, and everything. But I guess our niche would be that we work with people who want to make sure their values are just in alignment with their investments.
So how does one do that effectively in this environment now?
So for all new clients, we have what's called a socially responsible investment questionnaire. Okay. And we break it out. I think there are like 25 different questions. Okay. Is climate change important to you? Yes, no, don't care kind of thing, right? And if it is important on a scale 1 to 5, how important is it? So we go through all these questions. And so our typical client will be, worried about climate change. They want to be fossil fuel free investors. They don't want to have weapons manufacturers in their portfolios. They don't want to have private prisons in their portfolios, that kind of thing. So we help design portfolios to avoid those investments.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what kind of vehicles do you use to do that? Just individual companies, or do you have screen for ETFs, or?
It depends. Sometimes we get the ESG questionnaire back, the social responsible investment questionnaire back, and it is highlighted, written up, circled. The more specific a client is about what they want or don't want in the portfolio, the more we have to tend to use individual securities.
Individual. So funds are harder. Individual securities are a little easier.
So if someone says they want to be fossil fuel free, we can do that with funds and ETFs. Right?
Okay. Okay.
But if they don't, sometimes they'll say, we don't want Facebook. We don't want any social media. We don't want fossil fuels or weapons.
Right.
Then you have to get pretty specific, and you have to use individual stocks and bonds at that point.
So RJ, is there a way that you sort individual companies so you already know, like you don't have to search each time out of the S&P 500? Is there a way to sort those that you know?
Yeah. So we hired Rob Caverly 8 years ago to do that. So we have Rob Caverly. So what Rob does is he's been working with Sustainalytics, Morningstar, MSCI, and to develop our own internal ESG scoring method, if you will.
Nice. So it's your own scoring method.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we use others. Like there's a conference every year called SRI in the Rockies.
Okay.
That began over 30 years ago by a couple of pot smoking hippies in a hot tub, and they really were the kind of the forerunners of ESG investing, if you will. And Rob and I go out to that conference as often as we can. But it has evolved over the years. The first time I went to that conference, there was a supply chain breakout session with the head of Apple supply chain, and fascinating stuff. How do they make sure that there's no child labor? How do they confirm the source of all that? I mean, there's so many things that go into an iPhone or an iPad, right? And it was just a brilliant conversation. And afterwards, they opened it up for questions. And I remember this guy came walking up the aisle, and he had sweats on, and he had a gray ponytail down to his butt, and he was wearing blue Crocs. I'll never forget. And I thought, my God. And he asked the greatest question I've ever heard, right? And I don't even know what the question was. I was so blown over by it. But I'm like, wow, these guys have been around a long time, and they really care, and they're really smart. But it's kind of sad, because over the last 6-7 years, that conference has kind of evolved now, where it's people are wearing suit coats, and they look, now you've got the Goldman Sachs showing up, and you've got JP Morgan showing up, and it's just it's lost a little bit of that.
So it's gone mainstream.
A little bit mainstream. I guess that's good news, bad news, right?
Yeah. It's good and bad. Yeah. So now that conference started with a couple dozen people. Now it's probably a lot more.
Oh yeah. Last time we were there was 250.
Wow. Okay. And where do these folks come from? Are they mostly, Minneapolis types, or are
they're all over the country. I mean, I met people from the last time I was there, Ohio, Pennsylvania, a lot of Boston, California, New York, the coast, but there's a lot of people in between. Actually, the first time I was there, that's where I heard about the Certified B Corp certification.
Okay.
And I was really interested in that. So if I hadn't been to the SRI in the Rockies, we probably would not have been a Certified B Corp for the last 7 years or so.
So talk about Certified B Corp a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it's like you can't sell milk that's organic without having a certification process, right? And
okay.
if you go Google financial planner in Minneapolis, you're going to have 75 websites that show up. And if you go to every website, you're going to think that each of those planning firms are run by Mother Teresa, right? We care about the environment, we care about our clients, we care about our employees.
Right.
And you can say anything you want on a website, but to be certified, it's a big process. So to be a certified B Corp, they look at your financials. They look at the average salary of your employees. They look at the benefits you provide your employees. And then they dig down deep. It's like, where do you get your coffee from, your office supplies? And so I thought we were running a pretty tight shop, 7 years ago, but I mean, now we get all of our office supplies from a women-owned local business company. Our coffee comes from a Sustainable Coffee from North Minneapolis. That's a nonprofit. We just moved our offices recently, and all of our new desks are sustainably made from a BIPOC business owner in Minneapolis. So it's that kind of thing. It makes you think a little bit deeper than just go to Amazon and buy the cheapest stuff you can, right? So we're a lot more thoughtful, a lot more sustainable focus than that. So,
right.
And so I try to do a lot of business with certified B Corp companies. Ben & Jerry's is a certified B Corp. Patagonia. It's interesting. Patagonia now will no longer do corporate items if you're not a certified B Corp. So that's kind of cool.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. So I've not heard that before. So obviously we're not that way, and just learning. So you come up with not only ways to invest, but also ways to run your company, which is really very different. So how many firms are there that do this like you, that you would consider like kind of sister firms to some extent?
Yeah. So when I checked last, there were about 20 financial advising firms in the country that were certified B Corps. We were the only one in Minnesota.
So there's only two. Okay, so it's still a really exclusive club, even though that room is filling up with suits. It's still a very exclusive club to do the certified.
Oh, absolutely. And so part of it, Brian, is we're always trying to set our firm apart, trying to be, what's a differentiator? What makes us different, right, from the other 1,000 firms in Minneapolis? And so if someone cares about the environment and they don't want to have weapons and that kind of thing, they probably know what a certified B Corp is, right? Or if they don't, when they go to our website and they find out more about it, then they're really intrigued. It's like, whenever we go through the process and we get down to competition with Merrill Lynch or somebody, and we're like, we're a certified B Corp. We've been doing values-based investing for 20 years. We're a PRI signatory. I mean, there's all these different levels that separate us apart, right? And so that's why I think it's important when you find a niche, you have to use all the different tools and marketing that you can to separate yourself from everybody else.
Yeah. So if they don't know what certified B Corp is, they're probably not.
They're probably not. Well, I don't know about that, but like I said, if someone goes to our website and they'll, our website's like volunteer with us, our community impact, certified B Corp, what is it? Sustainable, responsible investing. So we've worked really hard so that our website is our landing pad, right? So if someone, it basically attracts certain people and repels others, right? And that's what we really want our website to do. We want to work with a certain type of person, someone who cares about the community, cares about their family. If all you want to do is look at a monthly statement from Schwab every month to see if it's gone up in value and make those numbers grow, that's not why I get out of bed every morning, right?
So you really want to build in your values into the whole program and feel good about what you're doing.
Absolutely. We want to work with people who share our values.
So you mentioned about volunteering. Do a lot of your clients volunteer with you on different programs and projects? Yes,
and we've been doing that for over 15 years now.
Okay.
We have people serving people, homeless shelter for families. We've been volunteering with them for a long, long time. We do back to school summer ice cream socials. A lot of our clients are retired and they love to do crafts. So we'll go to the homeless shelter and do craft projects.
Nice.
Which is really fun. We're going down there in August and I don't know exactly what craft project we're doing, but there's a park right next to the shelter. So we're going to do some painting or something that you can do outside. And then we're going to play some football and throw the ball around and whatever, just have fun with the kids. Nice. We do 2 events each year with the local veterans home, a nursing home. So we do bingo and we do casino night. Both of those are at 1:00 in the afternoon.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's fun. Feed My Starving Children's a group that prepares food and ships it overseas. And we do that every fall with our clients. And we usually have 75 clients or so join our whole team and our spouses and families. So We've been doing, this was our 18th year, I think, doing that.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah. So we usually do 5 or 6 volunteer events a year with our clients.
Wow. So how do they react to all that? They come and do they come back a lot, or are they like regular?
The problem is, people love to volunteer. They just need the opportunity sometimes. Right. And the problem that happens a lot now is that we only need 8 volunteers for this event, say, and we'll have 30 people who want to do it, right? And so they get a little I'm not upset, right? But they really like to volunteer, especially with the kids and the veterans too. They like to do that. So if they miss it, they say, well, put us on the list next time. We want to make sure we get to go. So
no kidding. So you have to cap your events up.
Well, that's why we used to do 2 or 3 a year. Now we're doing like 6 a year, just because we have so many clients who want to do things.
So let me ask you about the business then. Does that help you with retention? Are they not just investors? They're fans, friends, adherence to an ideal.
Yeah, I guess I would say that if someone cares about the community and they have the same values we do and they volunteered with us, that certainly does not hurt the relationship, right?
Nice.
It certainly strengthens it, makes it deeper. We just hired a couple of new advisors, and they've been sitting in at our client meetings, and they were from finance. They were finance majors, economics majors, and they kind of thought whenever we had our our meetings with our clients, we would talk about investments for 50 minutes, right, of the hour. And they're like you literally talk about investments for like 2 minutes, right? I mean,
Right.
Because we talk about the grandkids, we talk about where they're traveling, we talk about their health, just
Yeah.
a lot of other things going on.
Yeah.
And so they thought that was interesting. So yeah, so we find people who care about the community, want to get back to the community. They go to our website, they see that we volunteer, and some people look at that and say, well, what's that got to do with making money, right? And they'll go on to the next firm. But I want people who
Right.
have wealth and who want to give back and view us as a conduit to do that.
Do you have any clients that are socially responsible in their values, but they don't bother volunteering? They just don't do it. Okay. So they don't have to.
No, it's not a requirement.
Right. But there's some people that want to, see that as part of their calling, and then you provide that for them.
Especially our retirees. Yeah, they love to. They're looking for stuff to do, right? And they love it.
Yeah, sure. So, but I would think, though, I'm just thinking from a business perspective, you might have a higher retention. Let's say the markets are bad, but they spend a lot of time with you, and they're more invested in your organization. It could lead to a higher retention as well. Not that that's why you do it, but it certainly doesn't hurt business, does it?
No, and for the certified B Corp, we have to do our retention rate every year. And in my 29 years, we've lost 2 clients that I really didn't want to lose, right? And I think the last time we did our certified B Corp, it was 99.9%. So it's like we just don't.
Wow,
we just don't
that's
lose.
what I was getting at. Would sound to me like you'd have a much higher retention rate with the people that you accept, and of course, you don't accept everyone because they may come and say, look, I own guns and I don't care, or what, they have a different.
Well, they can own gun. I mean, that's okay. But I just think it's like if your values are similar, if you care about the same things, and
right.
We've been around 40 years, right? We're having our 40-year anniversary celebration in September. I think that's just different than having a relationship where all you are is investment manager and all they care about is making money. That you're not going to have a 99.9% retention rate when you have that.
No, not as well. Right. Exactly. So that's about values-based investing. Now, we also talked about niche marketing. And so this is also your niche as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
And that started from our professors and administrators at universities years ago. And then they started referring their friends, right? Because they'll be talking to their friends and they'll be saying, oh, we volunteered with Bond and Devick. They put us in these, they care about our values. They asked us what's important to us. And their friends who have the same values will be working with an advisor who does not share those values, right? And so those clients have been an amazing referral source over the years.
Nice. Well, great. Well, there's more and more people with those views, and that's great. So you mentioned also about how you differentiate yourself. Maybe talk a little bit about that, because that's kind of a similar theme. But where do you come out on that score?
How we make ourselves different from the competitors?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, part of it is, again, our website is really important. And, 10 years ago, we never got any business from the website. Today, like half of our prospect meetings are website generated. And we're very careful about how we promote ourselves, right? So we have podcasts. And we do blogs on our website. So we try to keep everything fresh. So our blogs, our newsletters that are on our website, the content on our website, our podcasts, we make sure that the message is always the same and it's always fresh, so that when someone Googles social responsible investing, values-based investing, ESG investing, no matter where they are in the country, Bond and Devick will show up high on that search score. So that's how we really work hard to make ourselves different. And then if someone who is interested in social responsible investing gets to our website and they look at who we are, what our values are, we give back to the community, we volunteer, and then they go to a competitor's website where they just talk about the markets are up 5% this year. You know what I mean? It's just totally different. So we've worked really, really hard to make our firm special and unique.
That's interesting that you get so many people from your site. How do you drive people to your site? You mentioned you do search. Do you have to do SRO type or SRI type searches?
We work with a search engine optimization person that makes sure that the content is
SEO. Yeah,
SEO. Yep, search engine optimization. So we do that to drive people to our website, but a lot of it comes from we're all of the advisors here are certified financial planners. So if someone goes to the CFP website to find a local certified financial planner, we'll show up in that search. We're also part of NAPFA, National Organization of Fee-Only Financial Planners. And if someone searches for a fee-only advisor in Minneapolis, then we'll show up on that website too. And then the rest is just Google searches.
Okay. If you do SEO, then you're kind of like forcing it to some extent, but you don't do that much of it. You actually have a lot more like the legitimate activity in there. So when they search, they find it for the right reasons, not because you were blasting some SEO out there. This is a real thing that you do.
Right. And it's been pretty successful. We have clients in 26 states. You know, we have clients who reach out to us as, you know, I Googled you and, you know, we're in California and kind of like what your message is.
Yeah.
And the website too is a great, so if we have a client who refers a friend or family member, the first thing they do is go to your website, right? And so if that friend or family member shares the values that our clients have and that we have, then they'll go on that website and say, oh, these guys look pretty interesting. And then they'll set up the meeting.
Do you ever encounter a client that has certain values that are even not for you guys?
We have clients that we work with whose values are not in alignment with ours, I would say. But we still treat them with respect and dignity, right? I mean, it's just that we've been around 40 years, right? So we have clients who've been with us 20, 30 years before we got involved really in this niche. And it's not like we fired them or,
okay.
I don't know how many people, but there's a percentage of clients whose values, especially politically, are not in alignment with mine at all. And they're still here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just because you don't think the same politically or philosophically doesn't mean, if you still care about your family and the community, then you're fine. Then that's fine.
Okay.
Right?
So there's no litmus test necessarily.
No, there's no litmus test. There's no, you know, I'm not saying a lot of my clients show up in a Hummer with a Second Amendment bumper sticker and a Trump bumper sticker on there. There might be some, right? And that's fine because, again, if they want to give, if they care about people and they want to, you know, we have clients who show up at our volunteer events who are not the same as me philosophically, but they want to give back to the community. So I'm like, hey, welcome aboard. We're happy you're here.
That's great. So let's talk about the investing side. So one of the knocks on the old, now they call it ESG, but you guys still use the SRI designation because that's the way it was in the 90s. And so that's all changed somewhat. One of the knocks on SRI back in the day was, gee, you know, you can't really perform as well. But that wasn't ever really proven. So have you ever looked at that and said, can we perform just as well as the broader market?
Sure. So a couple of things I would say, you know, a lot of words get bandied about. You have impact investing, ESG investing, right, socially responsible investing. Like for impact investing, the way Bond and Devick looks at it, that's where you want to make change. That's where you want to take your money and you want to increase the number of affordable housing, or you want to increase the number of BIPOC business owners, that kind of thing, right? So you take, right, like for Bond and Devick, we invest clients' money in the Calvert Impact Note.
Okay.
And then Calvert takes that money and distributes it to CDFIs around the country, and that helps build, you know, more local impact investing. ESG investing is just using non-financial factors as another way to look at a security to see if you want to buy it or not.
Right.
So in the SEC is just really, they're really excited about ESG right now, about making sure that there's no greenwashing going on and that kind of thing. But I'm not quite sure I understand, because when you use ESG investing, you're looking at non-financial factors, environmental, social, governance factors. And then you can use your own internal rating system. There's lots of other companies that provide their own ranking systems, right? And you use fundamental analysis, and then you add ESG analysis on top of it to make a decision. And so there's no tree hugging involved. It's just using a different set of factors to determine if that security should be purchased or not, in addition to fundamental analysis, right? Now, Bond and Devick uses a lot of ESG, but when we say values-based investing, that's the old school social responsible investing.
Right. Okay.
And that's where ESG to some extent doesn't use negative screens. Sometimes they do. Like you can have an ESG fund that just uses ESG factors on top of fundamental analysis, and they will screen out for tobacco, firearms, whatever. And that's what we do in our end too, right? So when we give somebody that social responsible investment questionnaire, and they don't want to have fossil fuel, if they don't want to have a lot of things in there, that's where we have to sit down and say, look, I'm happy to align your values with your investments, but if you're going to exclude half of the investments that are available to you, that could have a potential impact on your returns. Mm-hmm. And they don't care. So, I mean, it's like people, I get pushback all the time on that. And I'm like, well, there are people who go to Kroger's because it's the cheapest beef you can buy. And then there are people who go to Whole Foods, right? Because Whole Foods,
right.
You buy beef and you can, the beef is treated the cows are treated in a better manner. They're
organic,
free range, organic, all that kind of stuff, right? So when people push back and say, well, how can some of your investors not want to get market returns? How are they willing to give that up? I'm like, well, it's the same people who don't go to Kroger's and get the cheapest eggs and the cheapest milk and the cheapest meat. They go to Whole Foods because their values are more aligned with Whole Foods, right?
Right.
And so if you don't understand how that makes sense or that concept works, then I just don't think you're certainly not a good fit for our firm.
Okay. So most often though, you'll have a client that might have one or two pet issues like tobacco and firearms.
Correct.
And then that's it, right? And they won't focus on organic food or animal testing or something like that, right? But if they want every hot button, that might be too much.
Well, we have a conversation around that. So Bond and Devick, all of our portfolios have an investment objective, and that investment objective is tied to CPI. So in our performance reports, we don't list what the Dow did. We don't list we don't list any index, right? All we list is CPI, because all of our portfolios are CPI plus something. So that's the difference for goals-based planning.
Right. Okay.
So that's weird. So you want your assets to last to 100. You want to make sure that you have $3 million left at age 100 so that your kids will inherit something, that kind of thing, right? So we work really hard to design portfolios to try to achieve that investment objective while taking as little risk as we can. And so if they can do that by getting a 5% return, well, then we will design portfolios to get a 5% return over the long run, right? Okay. So, but again, that doesn't work with everybody, right? Some clients, if the S&P goes up 30% and our portfolios go up 15%, good for us because it was higher than 5%, right? But a lot of people can't handle that. They can't handle being that far behind the markets. Even like our clients now who are trying to get a 5% return are pretty happy because they're not down,
Yeah.
They're not overexposed to the NASDAQ or whatever.
So the process is kind of an evolution with each client to some extent. Do you find like clients will say, okay, well, here's my screens, and we can do an 11% return and you're okay, but then the market's up big, and then they change their mind a little bit. Like they're not performing as well. You have folks that will change their views sometimes because they realize, I don't care that much about it. I care about these two items, but not these. So I want to get a 30% return if the S&P 30.
We have a lot of conversations on the front end about that, and over time we can tweak the portfolio, right? It's their money. So what we have Brittany in our office, she runs all the retirement projections. She's been doing it for over 20 years for all of our clients. And what we'll do is a lot of prospects haven't had a retirement projection done, at least not to the level that Brittany does it, right? And Brittany will say, look, if you get a 5% return, 2% over inflation, we use 3% for CPI in our projections, you will hit all of your objectives. And then we go to the client, do you want us to design a portfolio to get that? Or do you want to get 6% returns? I mean, it's their money. I will design a portfolio that has as much risk as they want.
Right.
I just want them to know what the minimum requirement is. And if they want to dial up or down, that's fine. I've had clients in their 80s who have been all stock portfolios, right? And it's because they want to maximize the amount they're going to give to their children and to their charities.
Yeah.
So I'll do whatever, but we just have to be on the same page what we're trying to achieve, right?
Right. And do you have any folks that don't want any screens on their portfolio, but they still believe in the community and want to volunteer and be part of that? But
Absolutely.
they don't, they're not focused on firearms or tobacco or anything like that.
Yep. That's fine. We'll get an SRI. We'll send out an SRI questionnaire, and they'll get back to us and say, yeah, it's really not that important to us, and that's fine. But those type of people are still, I mean, they have to be, again, if they're just focused on the numbers, growing their portfolio, they don't care about their family, their community, giving back, that kind of thing, then it's probably not going to be a good fit.
Yeah, probably not a good fit. Okay. When you can tell the personality. So it sounds to me like you guys do a lot of work on the front end and then continual conversations. How often do you do reviews? Like every 6 months or?
At first, we'll do reviews every 6 months. Over time, especially after retirement, they'll tend to go down to annual reviews.
Annual, okay.
Yeah, we reach out quarterly, but annual reviews in person.
Okay, good.
It gets to the point where you just don't have that much to talk about, and I don't want to force someone to do it. The interesting thing is now with Zoom, we have several people that I do quarterly check-ins with, but they're 15 minutes, right? They're not 4-hour appointments. They're just 15 minutes. So, yeah. So it's kind of, it's been, we try to take the new technology with Zoom that kind of developed over COVID and let our clients tell us what they want. If you live 2 hours away, I'm not going to make you come in twice a year to see us, right? So some people come in once, some people do Zoom. I mean, it's up to them, whatever they, but usually at first when they become clients, it's usually at least twice a year until they kind of figure out how it all works. They get comfortable with their system, right?
Great. And you kind of scale it back. So once they've been with you a couple of years, you might go to, or they retire, you might go to a yearly.
Yeah, we have clients who've been with us for 37 years. We don't need to talk to them 4 times. You don't need to come in 4 times.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Unless unless of course you want to, right?
Unless depends.
That's great. That's a very unique practice. And just all the detail of organizing it, and you have a team that is creating such unique customization. So RJ, now that we've had a chance to kind of dissect your process, which is really very unique, what would you like to say to the advisor community? We talked about value-based investing, niche marketing. What kind of message, assuming you're talking to thousands of financial advisors here, because you will over time on this podcast and video series, what would you tell them about the business? Is there any messages you'd like to give?
Yeah, I would say the great thing about this business is there is a million different ways to do it, right? Mm-hmm. You have to find a way that fits your personality, that fits your style. Everyone wants to work with doctors, right? Doctors have money, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to work with doctors? Maybe your parents were doctors, maybe your grandparents were doctors, and you really understand that and you want to work with that, that's fine. But if you want to work with doctors because they have money, then that's not a good niche, right? You need to find something you're really interested in. You need to get involved in that niche, right? So if you want to work with veterinarians, right, then you got to speak their language. You've got to be where they are. You've got to go to their conferences, all that kind of stuff, right? So just do something that I get up every day and I'm so excited to come to work. I just love my clients, my employees, my colleagues here. I mean, it's just great. So if you don't enjoy going to work, well, then you got to figure out why you don't, right? And then it's such a great job if you can find a way to live your own values, whatever they are, work with other people who have those values, and then have clients who share those values. I mean, it's just a win-win. So if you have a niche because that's where you think the money is, you just might want to just kind of reevaluate.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, we meet many different types of financial advisors with different biases and views and ways of running it, and we continually are surprised at all the new things we learn here on the Financial Advisor Network. So you've really taken the socially responsible, value-based investing to a whole new level, and you're among one of the top 20 firms in the country doing that. And that's pretty exciting stuff. So congratulations.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Quite great. And we really appreciate you joining and telling us your story here, Financial Advisors Workshop. And this will be out in about 2 weeks, and everybody will get to see what you have to say. And thanks again for being with us.
You're very welcome. Thank you. You take care.
Thank you.